Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well, that you're all having an incredible day. The news today is a bit insane, intense. I'm not exactly sure what you want to call it. For those of you who are unaware, I do apologize that the beginning of the video begins like this. However, this article says Bitcoin tumbles, altcoins in deep red. Here's where Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP will land, according to top crypto analysts. This one says Cardano retests key retracement level, still bullish long term. This one says XRP is plunging and remains vulnerable to a drop below 24 cents. This one says stellar price losing steam, XLM on the verge of losing crucial support level. And of course, this one says Ethereum nosedives 10%. Here are the important supports the bulls must watch. It's really annoying as well. Not the fact that the prices have dropped, but of course they dropped, I think, 2 hours after I ended up purchasing some coins. So of course, I'm pretty sure the entire market has fallen because of me. For those of you who don't get the joke, every time I buy, the market always drops. Anyway, this one says reasons. I was looking at the W. That's really funny. I was looking at the 3, but it looked like a W. So I read it as 3 reasons. 3 reasons why Bitcoin is in the red today. It says Bitcoin is trading below 10,000 US dollars for the 5th consecutive day. Causes for this price correction can be tied to a series of predictable factors, none of which present a long-term threat to the overall crypto market. When commodities experience rapid spikes in value, some investors will always sell to secure their profits. Thus, retracements are a common and expected component of any appreciating asset. The move above 10,000 US dollars represented a significant psychological milestone for Bitcoin, which prompted a notable correction on the 20th of February. Since then, however, the price has remained relatively stable and even moved closer to the 10,000 mark more than once, whereas there is no clear indication that the 10,000 mark will be broken again over the next few days. There are also no signs that the price will fall much further. For those of you who didn't really get that, the first point that they try to make, which I don't really think is the actual main end all, comes down to the fact that they said that people are taking profits. But people take profits all the time. I don't think necessarily, now you may disagree with me, that's how the world works. We are able to disagree with each other, that the $10,000 Bitcoin was such a massive resistance level that we simply couldn't pass by it. Why? Because we had passed by 10,000 before, and the numbers that we kept on seeing is that we needed to pass by 10,100. We did that. 10,200. We did it. 10,400. We also did, and at that point, this is when prices started slinking backwards. But there's also been a lot of other stuff that's been happening in the news, and I told you all before that what's been happening is even says this somewhere around here, is that markets have been slowing down, and that means the traditional financial markets. And when traditional financial markets are slowing down or dropping down as rapidly as they have been doing the last couple of days, it scares everyone else in every other market. Just because people aren't able to sell their homes as quickly or many other gigantic investments as fast as they would normally be able to, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, futures, derivatives, options, and or cryptocurrencies, doesn't mean that they wouldn't do the exact same thing if you were able to sell your house after a day or even quicker. It's because things go that. Anyway, the entire point being, people have been selling off amid fears of the wider global financial system potentially crumbling, and I don't even mean that as a joke. There have been a lot of discussions amongst financial analysts and also, I assumption amongst governments as well, as to what exactly is going to happen over the next couple of months. It says over the past 2 days, stock and commodity markets around the world have tumbled. Analysts point to uncertainty over the coronavirus as the chief cause. The crypto markets appear to be no exception. Predictably, the price of gold has spiked. I forgot what gold is right now. I saw the price of it yesterday. Is it 1,800, 1,900? I can't remember. But the price of gold has shot up as many people are scared of where all markets around the world could go. Of note is the fact that the Bitcoin hash rate has flatlined. In fact, it has declined slightly since the beginning of the month, as most mining now takes place in China. Correlation. It is clear that mining farms have quit adding to their inventory. This fact is not surprising given the chaos the virus is causing across China's economy and industrial sectors. Until the problem is solved or resolved, Bitcoin's price will remain subdued. For those of you who may not have been watching the news or may not have been watching certain news networks, or maybe you only saw part of the story, what's happening is if you have been paying attention, or the point is, people in the heavily affected regions of the virus have not been going outside. That's not a joke. You can actually watch videos of it. People have they point their phones or point their cameras outside of their windows to show exactly what's been going on. The streets are empty. No one's going to stores. No one's going to supermarkets. No one is going to movies. No one's using the transit system. No one's using buses. No one's using airplanes. No one's really going outside. And when people do, I'm not joking, you see people kind of just running back and forth in complete panic and fear. And what's happening is, is that within the heavily affected countries itself, the economies are not doing well, as one might expect. When you have hundreds of millions of people, even if you just have 50 million people in a certain city or cities in a certain country who are not buying things, of course, this is going to cause the local economy and the wider overall economy to not fare very well. So, as such, the news has been, or portions of the news have been, that as it's heavily affected in a certain country where Bitcoin mining is quite prevalent, or a huge percentage of it is taking place. People aren't, not joking, they're not going to work. They're not messing with the machines. They're not buying any more machines. Nobody wants to touch anyone else. Nobody wants to touch anything. And as such, any growth that we may have seen has maybe stagnated. Maybe some machines have been turned off. It could be a bajillion different factors, but this is also the reason why Bitcoin's hash rate has slowed down, whatever down. And this is why we saw or have been seeing news about other companies who have been trying to build other mining factories around other parts of the world. Now it's starting to make sense because they see a slowdown in one other country, and therefore, first of all, this should have been done years ago. It's sad that it takes something like this. I mean, this is just my personal opinion. I think we always need scares like this in life to really kind of get things together. Because realistically, there should have been situations before 2 years ago where everyone was trying to open up mining factories or whatever in other parts of the world already. It shouldn't take a scare like this to kind of go, oh, now we need to do this. But like I said, I think things like this have to happen in order to kind of push humanity forward, because otherwise we don't realize that scenarios like this could take place where things could be detrimental to the entire economy. Sorry. The air here is really bad. First of all, it's still winter. It's like raining, but the air is dry. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I have this, like, I don't know. It's like this wheezing, dry air thing. Anyway, it says, although highly volatile, the crypto market is beginning to demonstrate patterns as it matures. The current market correction fits similar movements that have taken place since 2016. Each year, the price begins to slide in late February with a recovery towards the end of March. It is not surprising the prices decline, yet a recovery could come at any moment. The block The block reward halving is a new factor that has not taken place in 5 years. Analysts have long expected this. So they're pretty much saying what I was talking about before. The movements that we're seeing are very close to what I've been seeing, or rather what I noticed in 2017. Usually, and this is also something, if you were here in 2018 to 2019 as well, you remember a lot of the key news that we had was that prices always dip in February, and then start to rise around March. But I mean, to be fair, we've also heard that news before. We get that around summer. When summer's over, it'll go back up. We get that around September. When October's over, prices will go back up. So, grain of salt. The entire point being, this was one of the very few websites that actually tried to talk about why prices are lower. Because everyone else really everyone else just simply had news talking about nosedives, explosions. The markets are dropping. Will they continue to drop even further? Things are looking really, it was just constant. So this was the only one, I would say, at least at the moment, that had any relatively, word's not positive, but kind of like a greater outlook on everything. This one says a key technical indicator shows Bitcoin is highly undervalued despite sell-off. Yeah, because there's no, the reason for the sell-off is fear. People don't know if someone else is going to sell. People assume that if other markets are going down, that this market's also going to go down. So it creates this snowball effect of fear. Everyone begins to sell. I was watching something the other day on CNBC and many other, actually a couple of other platforms as well, and they were all saying that what this sell-off is doing, it's going to create a gigantic V-shaped pattern in the market for all markets. It's pretty much everyone's afraid right now, and prices are like this, and they begin to tumble, and then we end up all the way down. Things fall down, everyone continues to panic, and then when things are resolved, whatever might need to be resolved in the world, prices then go back up, and it creates this crazy V pattern. Then eventually what's going to end up happening, 3 weeks after prices have recovered, we're going to start getting that news. Did you buy the dip? Did you manage to buy the dip? Whoever bought the dip, you're lucky. It's always the exact same thing. It'll be the same exact thing for stocks and bonds and mutual funds. If someone ended up buying when prices hit 60% of their previous valuation, and then the prices go back up, and then by next year we have higher prices, everyone's like, well, man, you were really lucky if you bought last year. But no one can really predict when these moments will be over. No one knows when the fear will stop. That's just kind of how markets are. And for those of you who also care, dare I say, it says China's digital currency research is delayed amid coronavirus. The news that we're also getting is that they have delayed not the entirety of the release of their digital currency, but as of right now, a core function of it has been delayed. As it says around here that they have people who are still working on it, but once again, a lot of people don't want to go to work or being told not to go to work. So that is, I mean, it kind of is what it is. Not like I was like really happy for this to be released. It's more like I guess a sign of the times, if you kind of want to say it that way. Next up in news, that was everywhere news. I could not get away from this no matter how hard I tried, and I will tell you exactly why. It says global payments giant MoneyGram is expanding its use of Ripple and XRP. In a new earnings call, CEO Alex Holmes says MoneyGram plans to launch XRP remittances in addition to corridors and utilize RippleNet for account-to-account transfers. He said, our progress on the Ripple partnership has been instrumental in helping us lead the evolution of digital P2P payments. Today, our trading volume continues to grow, and we're partnering to expand the service to more corridors. I'm also excited to announce that we're also working to integrate RippleNet for account-to-account transfers in 2020. This new integration will further accelerate our progress in accomplishing our vision of real-time global settlements. MoneyGram's account-to-account feature is designed to let customers easily transfer money between their bank accounts, even if the accounts are located in different countries around the world. Wow, that's crazy. That should have been something that happened, 20 years ago. The company has further clarified that the integration will apply to corporate accounts as well. Although MoneyGram has not specified whether it will utilize XRP for the account-to-account transfers, the company has hinted at new corridors it plans to explore for the digital asset. Late last year, Holmes said the company is specifically looking at the use of XRP across Asia and in Australia. I assume by the end of 2024, MoneyGram will probably be using XRP for a huge part of their cross-border payments. Like I give it 4 years for the complete rundown of the entire thing. The point being is that MoneyGram announced in a press conference, a press release, something like that they were going to be expanding the use of RippleNet and also XRP across their platform. However, other websites, I think maybe only read a couple of lines because I kept on getting the exact same news. And this was, really one of the only few places that actually just gave the news as it was. This one says Ripple partner MoneyGram set to integrate RippleNet for accounts to transfers this year. This one says MoneyGram expands Ripple partnership with $11 million. This one says MoneyGram continues to expand its strategic partnership with Ripple. The crypto payment firm Ripple has given $11 million to the remittance firm MoneyGram in the last 6 months, and this one says MoneyGram gets $11.3 million from Ripple in H2 2019. Did you catch on? The main news was that the people from MoneyGram announced that they were going to be expanding the use of XRP. That's the point of it. That was the major news. That was the main criticism of XRP a couple of years ago. No one's using XRP. And now people are using XRP, and the main criticism is that Ripple is giving money to companies so that they will use XRP. I'm not sure if many of you know how partnerships work. Partnerships work with money. Money goes back and forth. It is a mutual partnership. There are few countries on this planet that would integrate something else without getting something in return. The thing that MoneyGram is getting in return is that Ripple announced that they were going to be buying MoneyGram stock in exchange for MoneyGram to be using XRP around the world. That's how businesses work. And we've known this for about a good year and a half, if not 2 years at this point. For some reason, a lot of other websites seem to focus on the fact that MoneyGram received $11 million from Ripple. And for those of you, I mean, listen, $11 million for multi-billion-dollar companies is nothing. I think a lot of people maybe are new to the financial world and think that $11 million is a lot of money in the grosser picture of everything, but I'll explain to you right now. $11 million from one company to another for them to use a cryptocurrency or to expand the use of a cryptocurrency that's going to be used across potentially millions, if not tens of millions of people around the world is nothing. $11 million is nothing at all, especially to a company, Ripple, that's been evaluated to be worth billions of dollars. So the entire point being, as many other websites made sure to focus on the fact, especially if you read through them, they make sure to, it's really weird as well, they make sure to talk about the fact that Ripple is still under lawsuits, that Ripple is paying other companies to use their so-and-so, but this is how, once again, this is how business works. Just because you maybe have never seen the actual behind the scenes of how businesses work, and I don't even think it's a quid pro quo. It's more of like a you rub my back, I rub yours. There's a reason why we have these phrases. It's because it's how businesses work. Anyway, the entire point being, good job to Ripple and MoneyGram as they are going to be expanding the use of XRP, which is exactly what people said would never happen. Lo and behold, it's happening, and now they're looking for something else to kind of talk down about the company about. It's just you can't make miserable people happy. Let's move on. In fascinating news, the IOTA coordinator, node responsible for confirming all transactions, has been offline for more than 12 days. Yet the token remains listed as one of the top 30 cryptocurrencies by market cap, according to On-Chain FX. Its price even went up. I am trying to figure out how I want to go on about this in what exact particular way. For those of you who, I mean, I can't even begin to. In any other situation, in world finance, in world anything, in world money dealings, if you had a company, if you had a website, if you had a something else that had gone offline at all or had been hacked, the price of said asset, said website, said company would have tumbled. If they had been offline for around 12 days or even close to 2 weeks, which is probably exactly what it is right now, no one would be talking about it. No one would be buying it. No one would be anything close to exactly what's happening right now. The cryptocurrency market is very... A larger part of the cryptocurrency market is very inexperienced. And when people have tried to argue with me or have tried to tell me that IOTA is going to be fine because in the future it will be more decentralized, I worry about the future of where people are putting their money for investments, where they just simply where they'll be. The idea that you're okay with having your money in a project that can halt all transactions and is now offline and has been so for the past 2 weeks is very worrying. because this is exactly what happens when you have your money in a bank. They are allowed to shut down your transactions from happening. Now, if there would have been an uproar if this had happened to you for your bank account, why has my bank account been shut off for the past 2 weeks? What do you mean? That's what the bank's allowed to do. No, this is completely unfair. However, there are a lot of people who are still... Now, I'll tell you, in 2019, especially if you know me, in 2017, I told people that IOTA was not going to work. I read through articles, and I even told people, I said, there's going to be situations where we start getting more information from a lot of people who build blockchains, people who build things within the cryptocurrency space, who are going to come forward and tell you exactly how much this is not going to work. And that started happening. This was also around the same exact time for those of you who've been with me since the very beginning. I'm sure you remember, people used to scream at me and told me that IOTA was going to beat out XRP, that IOTA was it. IOTA was going to pass by XRP, and IOTA was going to pass by Ethereum, and could potentially even one day pass by Bitcoin. And I said, there's no way on this planet that it's ever going to happen, because IOTA probably isn't going to work. Fast forward to 2019, I remember there were a lot of IOTA articles, and I kept on being like, okay, I want to see exactly where this is going to go. What do I mean? IOTA partnered with Jaguar, IOTA partnered with Bosch, IOTA partnered with an elevator manufacturing company. I can't remember exactly what they were called. And also they partnered with a couple of electric vehicle charging stations. And I said, that's actually pretty cool. These are the kind of partnerships that you kind of want to see, happening across any industry. These are absolutely wonderful. And then we started getting news about other things that were happening with IOTA. You can read a lot of them here. For those of you who want to freeze the screen, there's a lot. Whoever wrote this article, they went into great detail as to everything that's been happening with IOTA since around 2017. How there were a lot of other analysts who were looking through their tangle, because apparently IOTA doesn't have a blockchain. They have what they call a tangle. And people were pretty much saying this doesn't work. We tried overloading the network. We tried doing a lot of other stuff to see if it had, if it could take it, and it couldn't. And they kept on having other problems, and they had there's a multitude of problems that were happening with IOTA. The point to really finish it all off, because I have about another hour and a half of things that I could possibly say, but the issue is that once you're convinced of something, it's very difficult to be unconvinced of it. What's the phrase? And I don't mean this in a jerk kind of way. It's more like it's very easy to convince someone of something, but it's incredibly difficult to convince them that they've been fooled. I think that's how it actually goes. I will finish this off by saying you should understand that you are probably, if you have invested in IOTA, and this is not financial advice, it's more like a logical advice. If you plan on staying within the cryptocurrency space for the very long term, it is probably in your best interest to make sure that you are in a cryptocurrency that can't be halted by a single point of failure. IOTA itself was hacked. We had the news a couple of days ago that they told people not to use the wallets, not to use anything. If at any point, and I believe this wholeheartedly, if at any point we had news that the people from Ripple had shut down their XRP validator and stopped all transactions from being validated, XRP would be around 2 cents right now. The entire crypto industry would have made it their goal to tear XRP apart limb from limb, fingernail by fingernail. They would have made sure to do everything that they could. And I find it very, what's the word? I think my brain won't let me say any other words. The point is, it's very interesting that so many other people who hate XRP haven't completely torn apart IOTA. There is not a single point of failure for the XRP ledger. There are actually a lot of nodes, and it's not possible to shut down all transactions or to say no to the validation of transactions on the XRP network the same exact way it's not for the Ethereum network or for the Bitcoin network. And I'll even go a step further and say lumens as well. So I don't know how this will end, but I do know that in the face of a world that is increasingly becoming more centered and focused on social media, centralized currencies, central bank digital currencies, and open, permissionless coins that cannot be stopped by a single validator. I hope that you are on the correct side. And I say this more so because people have been telling me, and I've been discussing with other people, they've been telling me that IOTA will eventually be more decentralized, that eventually it will have more nodes. And I question why over the past 4 years this hasn't already happened, why the IOTA team felt the need to not have at least 10 different nodes. The point is, IOTA's price, for some reason, while the hack was happening, and while the network and it's still been shut down, the price went up. This logically does not make a lot of sense. It's the same exact thing when Craig Wright told everyone that he knew the person who actually pumped the price of BSV, and then the price of BSV continued to go up. Why? What? What's the thing? I don't know. I think people like to be burned. And I have a theory, and this isn't even a joke. I think people like when bad things happen to them so that they have a bad story to tell to other people. And I don't mean that as a joke. I've noticed that a lot of times. I've known people remain in situations that have been terrible for them, and they stick it out to the very end so that they can tell other people, oh man, you know what happened to me 3 years ago? So they have this story to kind of tell people. Unless someone has gifted me IOTA, I don't own any IOTA. I am never now going to own any IOTA. 12 days. The confirmation of transactions on their network has been down for 12 days. It's still in the top 30. Can you imagine? I'll give you this scenario. The point of IOTA is meant to be an Internet of Things token, coin, for all devices. That is to say, they want to be integrated into smart cars, self-driving trucks. They want to be integrated into your washing machine, like literally every single thing that's digital in this world. They want to be integrated into it in some sort of way. I'll give you the other side of that coin. Tesla is trying to actually do the exact same thing. They want to be integrated into your between their satellites, between their self-driving cars, their self-driving trucks, and all this other stuff. Can you imagine a situation where someone had hacked Tesla and they shut down all confirmations, not even just of transactions, but of communications between all of their computers, and all of Tesla's self-driving cars, their self-driving trucks, their satellites and everything went down for 12 days? How high do you think Tesla would be valued if no one could get in their car and drive it? How high do you think Tesla will be valued if all the trucks that were carrying food and vegetables simply couldn't carry them because no confirmations could go between them? You understand what I'm saying? The cryptocurrency market, the fact that we have Bcash and BSV anywhere within the top 100 is very worrying for the future of a lot of people's wallets. I think people, and I saw the people telling me before, when I was asking in another video why you still had BSV or Bcash, and people said, well, because they're in the top 5. That means they're good. It's impossible to change people's minds. It's more so to let you know. IOTA's been shut off for about 2 weeks now, and I assume this is going to continue. And if you have the time, if you find yourself with the time today, look up IOTA articles from around 2017, 2018, where people were pretty much talking about this and saying that things were not going to bode well for them. If you still have IOTA after they are allowed to, and I don't even care if they become more decentralized, this is a huge red flag. If you, good luck. This is another article from 2017. It says, our response to a cryptocurrency without a blockchain has been built to outperform Bitcoin. IOTA is never going to pass Bitcoin. IOTA may pass Bitcoin Gold. IOTA's never, ever, 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 ever ever going to pass Bitcoin. Ever. Next up. It says, over the past few years, we've seen Bitcoin change from a spot trading only market to one dominated by derivatives. Evidenced by the investor activity on BitMEX, Deribit, the CME, Backed, and other crypto derivative platforms. Indeed, the lifetime aggregate volume of BitMEX's Bitcoin swap future recently surmounted $2 trillion. That's a fake number. That should be billion. And the CME has been registering hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin futures trading each and every day. The growth in derivatives hasn't gone unnoticed, with JP Morgan recently releasing an extensive crypto-themed report in which it revealed it is keeping a close eye on Bitcoin derivatives. If you were around in 2017 and 2018, you likely remember the reports from mainstream media revealing that JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon wasn't the biggest fan of Bitcoin. In interviews, he lambasted the cryptocurrency, calling it a fraud that global governments were going to crush. I remember this. And he said a lot worse than that. Between him and Warren Buffett, they tried, and this is what makes me believe, personally, that Warren Buffett owns Bitcoin. He may not directly have bought it himself on Coinbase, clicking through the screen. Not many 300-year-olds can do that. I'm certain in some sort of way he's connected to some sort of entity, some sort of company who owns Bitcoin. It's far too obvious. You don't. The sentiment hasn't stopped JP Morgan from delving into cryptocurrency and blockchain, running its own Quorum blockchain unit and releasing reports on developments in Bitcoin, and also the news that we had a couple of weeks ago that JP Morgan is going to be integrating their Quorum blockchain with Ethereum. Hint, hint, hint. According to a recent report from the financial services giant, written by the global research team at JP Morgan, there is a genuine demand for non-linear institutional trading products in crypto markets. JP Morgan indicated this genuine demand for Bitcoin via these trading products is likely from institutions. I don't have to read much further. You see there's a lot more to scroll down. This is the actual thing that they released. It says JP Morgan Perspectives, Blockchain, Digital Currency, and Cryptocurrency moving into the mainstream? Question mark? Of course. JP Morgan Chase probably owns an enormous amount of Bitcoin. If I would also dare speculate, they probably own an enormous amount of Ethereum as well. And I can only assume that they are probably, this is speculation on my part. The people from Ripple know everyone in traditional financial markets. Everyone. Question mark? They know everyone. They've been in discussions with them before. They've sat on panels with them. So I assume over the last year, the people from Ripple have probably been in discussions with JP Morgan Chase as well as to if JP Morgan is going to purchase some XRP. That is not me saying that they own XRP. It's more that it's probably on their books as well to probably look through it as well. Even the news that we had, remember, it was from NASDAQ and it was NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, and Fidelity. And people were asking them, they said, you are planning on launching Bitcoin, this, that, there, and the other. Are you planning on doing stuff with Ethereum and XRP in Litecoin? And they said, well, we're actually actively looking at all coins within the top 10. Why would we not look at all coins within the top 10? So this leads me to believe that across the board, the major players are probably looking at all coins, once again, say it with me, within the top 10. I wouldn't say this is a bombshell 74-page report. It's more of a, if you know how money works and how banks want to make more money, then this all kind of completely aligns with everything. Anyway, the point being, JP Morgan, the people who said there were even reports, I'm pretty sure it was 2017 or 2018. It was Jamie Dimon. He said, if anyone in JP Morgan is caught buying, selling, or trading Bitcoin, even on their own time, it was if you were at home. I'm not even joking. You can find it. If you were at home and you acquired Bitcoin, you would be fired from JP Morgan Chase. How times have changed when they have a financial interest in it themselves. How fascinating, right? So remember in 2018 when I said that we would enter a point where, first of all, crypto is very mainstream. You may not hear about it every single day in your world between you and your friends. Crypto's mainstream because the mega financial institutions are in it. Their hands are in it. They are buying it. They are creating other companies. Oh, there's a little bird outside. It flew away. It was tiny. The point is they are in the cryptocurrency space. I was gonna say don't deny it. It's more like it can't be denied anymore. And without further ado, I'm interested to see in 3 years. It's always this weird situation where I want time to move quicker, but I don't want time. I want to experience life as it is, as opposed to rushing time. But I always want to see the people, the previous naysayers or the current naysayers, and how much the system will develop in the entire market. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Let's move on. And to kind of finish things off, Canada does not want to fall behind in the world if the world continues to embrace digital currencies. The Bank of Canada signaled on Tuesday that it is now developing a prototype for its own central bank digital currency. The bank, however, only plans to deploy it if it is needed by Canadians. That is not completely true. They said we need to move forward to work out what a potential CBDC might look like and how it would be managed if the decision were ever to be made to issue one. This was said by Deputy Governor Tim Lane at a fintech conference in Montreal. Lane stressed that the Bank of Canada doesn't necessarily believe a digital currency is needed right now, but it will prepare one as a contingency, which means every single time that we get news like this is like the 9th time that we've gotten this from a country who has stated that they don't see a need for it right now, but just in case, should there be a need, we'll have one sitting on the sidelines. I'm of the belief, of the mindset, these things were created around 2019. It seems unlikely that we, the public, would be getting news from the Bank of Canada, from the Bank of Japan, from the Bank of anything, about the movement forward of a potential digital currency that hasn't already been created. They've been talking about this for a couple of years. It's fairly obvious this is how things work. Like, imagine a situation, like, I'll put it to you this way. The Bank of Canada didn't have a discussion on Monday, and then we heard about it on Tuesday. You get it? Like, why would such pertinent, important information about the creation or the digitization of the Canadian dollar have been then given to us? Like, we're not worthy enough in the bank's eyes to have acquired this news. This article is a bit different, and I think it definitely touches a little bit more on exactly what's happening. The central bank does not see a real need to issue its own cryptocurrency unless a competitor to cash takes off. This was said by Deputy Governor, once again, Timothy Lane. His speech was titled Money and Payments in the Digital Age, addressed how the central bank is approaching the idea of central bank digital currencies. In his view, cash works. To be sure, Bank of Canada was one of the most active students of the central bank digital currency concept, and it ran a pilot project on R3's distributed tech ledger, known as Corda. However, in the end, the regulators said that they weren't impressed. They said, we have concluded that there is not a compelling case to issue a central bank digital currency at this time. Canadians will continue to be well served by existing payment ecosystems, provided it is modernized and remains fit to purpose. The widespread use of private currencies could change this calculation, he said. Lane described such cryptocurrencies as a monopoly that would erode competition and privacy and pose an unacceptable challenge to Canadians' monetary sovereignty. The most obvious threat is Libra, right there. Initially championed by Facebook, now led by a group of companies. While there is currently no timeline on the stablecoin's launch, individuals associated with the project have confirmed their development and continuing despite a harsh reaction from the global community, which was all, in my eyes, a lie. All the people who hated Libra, now they all say it's fine as long as we can regulate it. The most obvious threat is Libra. It is Facebook. It is the idea that Facebook will become the world's largest bank overnight. And there are a lot of countries before you may have noticed who said that they didn't like Libra, like I just mentioned, who are now kind of buddy-buddy with it and say it's totally fine as long as we can regulate it. Part of the issue still is that if you have a situation where you even have 25 million people in Canada who are using Libra over the Canadian dollar, that poses a very big problem, because what actually ends up happening is, especially in a situation where Facebook is actually more smarter, where they figure out if your normal banking fees to transfer are anywhere from 2, 3, 4, 5%, if you have to pay $5 at an ATM to take out your own money. However, on Libra, you don't have to do any of that, or the actual fee ends up being like 5 cents as opposed to $5. A lot of other people who don't know any better would start using Libra. It's the idea that it says describe such cryptocurrencies as a monopoly that would erode competition and privacy and pose an unacceptable challenge to the Canadian monetary system. The idea is that the people who create money already have a monopoly on the entire system and have had it for a very long time, and they assume that they would have one forever, and this is why they're trying to digitize everything, because when you digitize everything, when you digitize money, securities, all this other stuff, you can tell exactly where all these transactions are going. You create a very tight bottleneck, very tight. One is, if you close your fist the entire way, imagine a truck trying to get through your fist. It won't happen. Why? Because you can't. There's no space. For those of you who didn't get that, who didn't get that logic. When you make everything digital, you make everyone use your money and tell them that they can't use other forms of money. It's just a matter of control. And governments are fearing that. It's funny how all it took was a social media platform that was created about 15 years ago to announce that they were going to create a new form of money, air quotes, that caused world governments to completely lose their minds. I actually wonder, in what other timeline that exists right now, I wonder a world where if Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies exist, but Facebook doesn't, and no one else is trying to create a social media coin, how long it then takes for governments to completely fear Bitcoin. I wonder what that... Anyway, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that. I mean, we can't go to another universe, so we can't really... The entire point being, it's not that they don't want to issue one, it's that they're trying to figure out how to issue one. They always are gauging to see if the public is going to accept one. They try to see exactly... They try to make sure that they can issue something with as little resistance as possible. Because what ends up happening if you release a central bank digital currency onto the public and tell everybody, hey, you have to use it starting on Wednesday, and then people freak out. I don't want to use that. I don't know what that is. That sounds difficult. Why do I have to download that? And everyone is up in arms. Then that project falls. All the other projects fall. Everyone's waiting to see what one particular country, you know who they are, is going to do with their central bank digital currency. And if Libra is going to launch and how successful Libra is going to be. If Libra is successful, you'd better believe about a good month after, we are going to have countries running to try and create their own digital money, or just digitizing in general. Anyway, I'm expecting this to go through. I expect Libra to try to launch by summertime. That's just a timely projection in my head, and by the end of the year, it's supposed to be a pretty crazy year. We're supposed to have the halving. Bitcoin's supposed to magically go anywhere between 50 to 80,000 US dollars this year. John McAfee's going to have lunch. It's going to be a pretty crazy year, dare I say. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. Hold on, I have to sneeze. Creole and Michelle URL. On Crypto with Lionel, Tigara Machonisa, Bake Me a Cake, Arfmedic17, Anytime Fitness, Monk's Corner Staff, Bodie McBoatface, Yes to Crypto, Miller Hitch Test Every Day and Kyle Skips Leg Day, Minting Coins, Jeremy Fox, Jim Gardner, Anthony Charles, Nick Mangialavori, Paxis, Crypto and Beer Shipmate, Vlad the Impaler, Richie Rich III, Nick Kanaya, Setsuna Damien, Nicholas Red Earth, One Piece, One Love, Crypto Artist, Coldy 3D, Milweezy, Adobo, Bankroll Network, Crypto Joe, 242 to the World, Wise Night Owl, Jared Schneider, Brady Niels, Master Ventures in Thailand, Moham Maroney, Adam Graysick, Todd Mullis, Barebones Mining, A Bibliophobia, The Animal Reader, John Sarson, Mr. Pickles, Nostromo, Chongololo, Songololo, and Professor Wally from Gun, Bot, University. Thank you all very, very much for your support, and thank you to everyone who is a member of the channel and has clicked the little join button below. You have my gratitude. I was going to say my heart, but that seems like it would be painful. At the moment, the entire market is down in red except for stable coins. Where is it? USD coin and Pax coin and True USD are, of course, the ones that are up. Bitcoin is currently sitting at 91.47. Down by 4.5%. Ether is down by 9%. XRP is down by almost 10%. Litecoin is down by 10%. EOS, you kind of get the point, as it were. I'm actually a little excited, I won't lie, that ADA has fallen down in price. I have remember the other day I said I was going to do an experiment and try and purchase a hefty amount of ADA in order to see if I could make some bucks by the time if it ends up hitting $1 again. It's back around the exact price point that I wanted it. I calculated yesterday how much I would be able to get when the prices were up a little bit higher, but I'm able to get the exact amount that I want to get. I am quite excited. I mean, we're all family here. I'm excited to see if I can make 100K by the end of the year just from Cardano. That'd be really funny because money. Anyway, the market is down currently right now. Not financial advice. However, if you were looking to buy the dip or there was any coin that you were looking to get into, now might be the time. It is looking like that prices may decline further. However, do you know? Do I know? No, nobody knows. No one knows if it's going to fall down below 9,000. No one knows if it's going to shoot back up to 9,600. No one knows if the fears that are plaguing the world will simply diminish by the end of today, by the end of this week, by the end of this month, which is a couple of days away. Is it a leap year? I don't know if it's a leap year. The entire point is the market's red right now. If you buy all the time, such as I do, it'd be a good time. I'm actually, now that I think about it, oh gosh, that's really bad. It's one of those, I was sitting here looking at all the prices and the red actually made my heart jump. And I was like, why is my heart jumping? And I was like, because you can get stuff cheaper. Now might be the time. Oh, all right. I have to go buy some more. Not financial advice. Not financial advice. It's more just a, I got the itch. You know, anyway, that sounded wrong. Thank you all once again for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. Thank you very much for all the support on the second channel, by the way. I do appreciate. For those of you who are always there, I give you an actual digital high five. You know exactly who you are. I talk with you guys every single day in the comment section. I really appreciate all the support on both channels. You guys are absolutely incredible. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.